I'm going to show you exactly how much money I made at every stage of my cybersecurity career. Real numbers, not Glassdoor averages or anything like that. This is the real stats and actual money that I made stage by stage from the bottom until where I'm at now. And I'm including the part that's really important. The year I had military experience, IT experience, a stack of resumes, but still was working a very low paying job in a factory floor refurbishing computers. Because the path to six figures in this field is absolutely real, but it's not always a straight line. And anybody who draws you a straight line is not telling you the truth. If you appreciate these real numbers, especially when we're talking about salary, please subscribe and hit the like button. So I'm not giving you this information to brag. The numbers in the middle are nothing really to even brag about. I'm showing you this because you should be able to see what each rung of the cybersecurity ladder pays and what moves those numbers, so you stop guessing. You start making career moves on purpose instead of just hoping. So for every stage, I'll give you the number and, more importantly, the lever or the way that you can actually make those numbers increase and move up that ladder. So stage one, my time in the military. I was an office clerk. Didn't really even get into the technical stuff of computers, but I was making, let's say in 2001 in the year 2000, as an enlisted E3, let's say I was making around $18 an hour. I believe that might be the case. The lever here wasn't the money, it was the access. I turned a clerk job into a computer help desk or support type of job by volunteering and doing anything technical that I could get my hands on to prove my skill set to other people around me. Then I was able to get into a more technical job. The experience I was banking was the real currency in this particular position. That's stage one. Stage two, help desk. So once I got into the help desk in the Air Force, I was able to actually do some technical work. I was able to help people with their computer issues, do some hardware upgrades, repairs, things like that. It didn't really show up in the paycheck, but the lever was the actual IT responsibilities that I was able to obtain. Also, in the evening times when I was taking my educational courses towards my certifications in Microsoft and in Cisco. So stage three, this is post Air Force, moving to a different city, and this is the crash. The factory floor where I was resorted to getting a job refurbishing computers. No one was hiring, the economy crashed. I couldn't get a job that I really wanted, so I had to take this to pay the bills, refurbishing computers. This salary here was probably less than in the Air Force, maybe $15 an hour in year 2001, 2002. So I had to take what I could get, and this is the dip in salary. Even a downward dip, humbling moments, but that can be a rung. It can be part of the ladder and part of your path that I had to stay on. So stage four, the library computer lab. I was eventually able to, after only a few months, able to get a job in the library computer lab. Now the salary here, I would say, was around 18 to 20, if I remember correctly. A slight increase. I was inside air conditioning lab environment, helping students with their computer issues, helping in the university. So I was still climbing, but very slightly. Now stage four, this is the big step. I got a job at a different city as an Air Force contractor. No benefits because I was just a contractor. On paper, this move looked like a sideways, a lateral move, because it was a contractor job with no benefits. But the lever was humongous. It got me into real server experience, building servers, configuring servers, deploying them into the data centers on racks, working in Linux, working in firewall configurations, firewall deployments, firewall upgrades. I used my security clearance to get this position. So the Air Force experience was very valuable. And sometimes you have to take the move for the experience, and then the money can follow later. So the money was an increase here. I would say maybe 22 to 25. But being an Air Force contractor and doing a lot of traveling, per diem came into the picture, and that was a little bit of an increase as well in pay, because per diem was straight per diem And if you know what that is, then that's a little bit of help on the financial side. So stage 6, civil service in a SOC environment. So in this move, I had to stop traveling because I had a little family. So I took any job in the US, which ended me up in Virginia. So Virginia, as opposed to Texas, the cost of living was a little bit higher, but the salary here was an increase as well. 65,000 to 67, I would say, in the year 2003. Boosted my salary quite a bit. Cost of living was a little bit higher. I was able to own a home, but this was a climb. This is another rung on the step, and it stabilized me. The lever, the clearance helped me in my contractor position, and also the networking along with the clearance helped me move into another Air Force position as a contractor at first, but then civil service in an Air Force base. The experience increased even more because of working in the SOC, demonstrating defensive security experience, defensive security techniques, learning more about IPS, IDS, vulnerability scanning, password cracking, and that was the experience that pays for itself right there in that position. Stage 7, another move, an increase in salary and back to a lower cost of living area in Texas, working for the federal government. Again, the security clearance comes into play. The lever, I went from operating tools in a SOC to actually building out the SOC, building out the tools, doing vendor evaluations, looking at the different tools, what we could use, what would be most beneficial for our environment, and then installing them, installing enterprise Nessus, vulnerability scanning tools, standing up other SOC tools, intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems. I built it is a phrase that better benefits you rather than I just used it. So if you build tools instead of using them, that's another additional thing you can put on your resume. So stage 8, after years prior of being in defensive security, I sort of wanted to make a shift into the offensive side. So offensive security, consulting, pen testing. This salary range put me, I would say, around 80 to 100. So the lever here is a rare, specialized, billable skill set. Network penetration testing, phishing, even physical assessments were the different projects that we were able to get. Auditing had to start at first because I was at a job where mostly it was auditing. So configuration type of security checks, audits, making sure systems are properly configured, specific settings on systems, and even documentation type of thing. So audit could be a little bit tedious. There were other projects that became more technical, like pen testing, but that was the first phase of that stage, I would say. And then the second was actually more involved into being a security penetration tester and doing actually physical assessments, network pen tests, even some web app pen tests. So stage 9 is in the development environment as a security program manager, secure internal security person that works with developers to make sure everything is secure as far as the code, the web applications, the APIs, making sure everything in the defensive side is up to par and secure. So this salary level takes me up to 160, 180, getting close to the 200 there, level there. So this is where you pretty much bring in all of your experience, defensive, offensive, and you put it all together, dipping your toes into something new. Like I said, network penetration testing was the forte. Now we're getting into code reviews, SAST, DAST, internal developer security, and looking at the code. So looking back across all 9 stages, and I ask, what actually moved the number the most? It wasn't any single cert. Certs got me past filters. They rarely move the salary much by themselves. The big jumps came from 3 things: getting into security specifically instead of staying in generalized IT, specializing, especially that offensive pivot, and using leverage other people's didn't have, like that security clearance. I would say that security clearance for me was a big step. So if you want the salary, don't just chase certs, chase the rung, chase the next level, the specialty that you need to get up to a higher position, and then the leverage. The certs support your climb, but they aren't the exact climb. So tell me in the comments which stage you're standing out right now, and if you've been through your own dip like I did, let me know. Somebody scrolling these comments needs to hear that there's challenges out there and how you're able to get out of them. Subscribe to the next video because I'm going to answer everyone's questions that they've been asking about these numbers, why it's so hard to even get the first one, and I'll see you at the next video.